Hey, thanks for stopping by the Pond Boss YouTube channel. Got a pretty interesting video for you here today. Gotten to be good friends with Mike Mehlman, Bass Forecast. And if you don't know about Bass Forecast, which over 500,000 people do because they've downloaded it, here's some information, some good one-on-one conversation between Mike and me, and it's a fun watch. So take a look. Hey, Bob Luss, the Pond Boss, on the shores of a beautiful lake in a somewhat undisclosed location. And I'm totally excited to be hanging out with Mike Mehlman, Bass Forecast. Mike, bumped into you at the Classic last weekend, and I've been wanting to talk and find out a little bit more about Bass Forecast and let the Pond Boss audience know. And of course, I know you want to share some information back and forth. So tell us a little bit about Bass Forecast.
Happy to, Bob, and I'm happy that you invited me here. You know, Bass Forecast is our objective is to try to simplify bass science for the everyday angler, and we learn from the best, which is why I follow Pond Boss and Bob Luss. He is considered to be the best bass fishing biologist in the nation. What we're trying to do is help bass anglers understand how the environment is affecting the bite. Armed with that information, they can make better decisions. Sometimes it's when to go, and other times it's, I can only go on Saturday. What do you think the fish are doing? And that's where it gets really difficult to put together a winning pattern.
Yeah, no kidding.
And people always say, well, there's no substitute for lifetime experience. Well, that's difficult for an average angler to absorb. You know, why should you need a lifetime experience to have a good day in the water when we can help you understand in real time, you know, are the fish going to be more active or less active? Should you fish slow or fast? And that's where we learn and we study fisheries biology, water engineering, meteorology, how they all come together and how they affect the bass behavior, and then surface simple recommendations to help anglers just enjoy their time, limited time in the water better.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
And that's so cool because here we are, you know, we love to be on the water. We love to chase those big green bass, you know, and we're trying to outthink something that can't think, you know, so we're trying to figure out how to put together all the different variables so that the business end of that rod and reel can go like that, just a little bit.
And even though we're trying to outthink them, sometimes the pea brain wins and we lose.
Yeah, always. That's what color, how deep, you know, are they staging shallow? Is it post-spawn, pre-spawn? You know, you got so many things going through an angler's mind, and that bass, all it's thinking about is trying to find the very best temperature where it can survive, have just enough oxygen to live on, and food that it can get to really quick. Or is it time to reproduce? That's about all they got on their minds. You know, and so when we try to place all that stuff in our minds, it gets a little complicated sometimes, but Bass Forecast can help simplify that just a touch.
And to give a great example, you talked about temperature. Remember when I asked you, you asked me, what's the master factor?
Yeah.
What is the master factor?
The master factor to me is temperature.
That's right.
Every time.
You also said something to me about temperature trend.
Yes. One of the things when I'm managing a lake, I like to track the temperature and see how that correlates with what's going on in the water. I'm looking at things, not only just the bass, I'm looking at its habitat. You know, what are the plants doing? Have they spawned yet? What are the baby fish doing? What's the food chain like? You know, and all these things are triggered by what the temperature is. If you've got, like, say, the plant life in a pond, for example, if you've got the right temperature and you got the right food, you know, and you got all those different ingredients, something's going to grow. And if those 3 or 4 ingredients don't come together, it isn't going to grow. And the temperature is the most important one to me.
I think you told me the preferred or maximum metabolic rate for bass is 81 degrees, right?
81 is getting a little bit hot, but they you know, 58 to 83, that's the range they like. If they could stay from 62 to 78, that's ideal.
That's ideal.
Yes, like in the summertime, if somebody's trying to find bass out in water where the surface temperature is 92 degrees, you're looking in the wrong spot. Because what they'll tend to do is they'll go stick their nose down into the Thermocline. Because what they'll give up with the amount of oxygen that there is at the top of the Thermocline makes up with the temperature of the top of the Thermocline. So they're always trying to find the best temperature first. Once they have that, it changes the whole world. They'll go all over the lake if the temperature's great.
So knowing what Bob just said is what we use in our algorithm. We take into account how long it takes for the average day and nighttime air temp to affect the water column. And you said to me when the water's warm and fast, it's sort of like human beings in the winter when it's freezing all winter long, and all of a sudden it's 50 degrees, you feel great in a t-shirt,
That's right. That's exactly right.
But when it's 50 degrees in the summer, you may feel like cold.
That's right.
So
That's right.
a bass is going to be feeding actively if the water temperatures are rising fast. And when that's happening in bass forecast, we increase the rating quickly to help anglers understand that, hey, it's going to be epic conditions because the average water temp is rising fast, or it's going to be tough conditions. Does that mean you should or shouldn't go fishing? It depends.
Well, that's why they call it fishing.
Yeah. Well, now when it's tough, then we're also giving recommendations for slow down, throw more finesse
That's
baits,
right.
move out a little deeper. That's about putting together a winning pattern, and that's what we're using your research to help fine-tune our algorithm to make it easier for people to just have a good time on the water, catch more fish, figure them out faster.
So there you have it. Check out Bass Forecast, and also go to pondboss.com, and got a whole lot more videos coming up, some more podcasts, more interviews at the Pond Boss YouTube page. So Mike, thanks for hanging out, man.
Thanks
that was
so
really,
much
really
for this,
fun.
Awesome opportunity
Yeah.
to see, what do you call this, a lake makeover or rebirth?
I like what you're thinking. What we're doing is we've analyzed this lake. Now we're collecting more data. We're looking at the genetic makeup, especially of the larger bass, but we're looking at the genetic makeup of all size classes of bass. Do they have the markers that they need to really grow to trophy sizes? Do they have the food chain? Today's main focus is we got 4 electrofishing boats harvesting bass. A bunch of those, I mean, we're not harvesting bass, we're harvesting channel catfish, crappie, and carp to make more room for more bass. That's what we're doing. And Bass Pro Shops over our shoulder, they're collecting a bunch of the fish we're harvesting, and they're going to go display those fish in some of their aquariums around the nation.
But here's how technical it gets. Bob was just telling me 10 minutes ago how the gizzard shad in this lake have a great distribution of length from small to mid-size to large, whereas a lot of lakes, they're just large, right?
Yes.
And why is that distribution so important?
Because it gives you different size classes to feed different size classes of bass. So if you've got 16-inch bass, they can feed on a gizzard shad that's about that big, but they can't feed on gizzard shad that big. But an 8-pound bass can eat that gizzard shad. So when you got size distribution of gizzard shad, every trophy largemouth bass lake that I manage has got gizzard shad in it. But there's a caveat. I don't like to use them until the lake's 3 or 4 years old, and there's enough bass that are big enough that they can eat the gizzard shad faster than they can reproduce and overtake the lake themselves. So there's a lot of science to it, a lot of art to it, but today we've got a pretty good mission going on to be able to capture, collect, and take some fish out to make room for the fish we want. So we're eliminating some non-target species to make room for our target species.
It sounds like the master in Karate Kid. It's all about balance, right?
Yeah, and balance, you know, it's fleeting. You know, we're taught as biologists to seek balance. It doesn't happen. You know, it's like coyotes, rabbits, coyotes. You know, you'd like to get here, but you can't, because something's always wanting to eat something else. And so it's always, you know, it's like a seesaw. You're always trying to balance it out. And part of the way we do that is how we harvest fish. Today we're going to change the balance in this lake by harvesting a bunch of fish to make room for more fish that we want. And that's the nuts and bolts of what we're doing with this particular lake, which happens with quite a few lakes. This one's a little more exaggerated, and we're in a bigger hurry because this landowner wants to get it done.
That's good. Well, even large, even gigantic public lakes need some sort of fisheries management. Otherwise, the balance will get out. But a smaller lake certainly needs to be more aggressive because it's not as large and diverse, right?
And it's got totally different fishing pressure than the public lake.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. There you go.
Well, thanks for your time.
Hey, yeah, that was fun. Yeah, man. Very cool.
Hey, thanks for stopping by the Pond Boss YouTube channel. Be sure and share it, click like. And oh, by the way, Pond Boss magazine, $35 a year, cheaper than a Friday night date, and it lasts a year. Hope you enjoyed this intel, and we got more on the horizon.